Okay everyone, I thought I'd do a little video on the Beaufighter while I'm printing out parts, just to show how I've made the model and what features it has, how it's going to go together. Okay, so this is the Beaufighter. I still haven't done the wingtips or the supercharger intakes yet. Wingtips I'm going to focus on last because they're quite important for stall characteristics and stuff. So I just want to try and make them scale, but not too scaled that the plane's a pig to fly at this size. It's already going to be slightly more of a concentration plane because I've got scale size control surfaces, so there's not as big as they would be on most RC planes this size. The rudder's huge though, but that's pretty good because it's a twin, and both, even though the model here doesn't show it, the props I have, the real one, they all spun the same direction. So there's a lot of torque to handle. Yeah, so this is a plane. I've printed so far the rudder. It's in two halves, as you can see. It's a vertical stab. I've printed this, even though they're joint, this nacelle, and both cowlings. Right now I'm printing the very open section of the wing here. That part there, and if I just move that up, you can see how it's made. So it's hollow in the center. Other than that, it's solid-ish. The printer does like a honeycomb hexagonal lattice work in the solid parts, and I've set that at 10% volume, so it'd be 10% filled in with a honeycomb lattice, so it's still pretty light. The other sections of the wing, if I just go to this mode, you can see inside. Got a wing spar that comes across through the outside, helps lock them all together, and then bonded. I have a locating pin at the back for when the outer section of the wings joint to the inner section here, and then I have this spar comes across and goes in about an inch or two here, and then the main wing spar, which goes across the whole lot, it's 8mm carbon, all of these, crosses over into this section part here as well. So this part here has half the cutout for the servo. I'll be building the box in. It's just, when you're modelling stuff to print, you've got to do it differently than how you would model things like for injection moulding or something. So for my printer, it's just a bit awkward to have a box in here as well, because you've got all the support material you need to use when printing, because you can't print in thin air basically, and that would be awkward to get rid of. So I'll just build a little box using styrene or something to hold the servos in place. This is for the aileron, that one. And you see the hole for the spar. And the middle section, much the same. It's the other half. See, so there's not a lot of volume weight-wise, which is good. Keep the weight down. This part as well. You can see the recess for the flaps. It's inner and outer flaps going out on both sides. And they're the boxes for the servos. Once again, I'll build those boxes in. So that's that. And then the last part of the wing, each of these is about 75mm wide in this direction, so that you can print reasonably well without warping issues or anything in the printer. So you can see the thickness changes there in the profile of the wing. Yeah, so that's that one. Now the inboard wing section, it's in two halves again. I just symmetry everything once I've done it, makes it easier. Now you can see the servo recess there, flap recess. That's the CG location indicator for me. You've got the locator pin and two spars. This is the recess for the landing gear wheel, and this is the recess for the pod that takes the retract unit, and that bonds in with plastic welding. And the spar goes right across the top and rests just above it, so that all the loading from landing is taken up by that wing spar, which should help prevent any breakages from heavy landings or anything. Not that I do that often, but it does happen. We're not all perfect. Yeah, so I'm still deciding whether or not it's just a waste of material to have the wing go all the way through the fuselage, and just a waste of weight. So I might In case you're wondering, that's one of the the planes I use to reference the image, so it just lines up in the 3 view. I've basically split it in half and done it all on this side. This side's just symmetry, because the drawings aren't perfect either, so as long as one side's fine, the other side will be better. So just this back on, close this group, and I'll just turn that back on. Okay, so here's the plane again. These are my propeller models from the Focke-Wulf 190 Madura. I've just put them there because it's the only easy access blade I have. Looks sort of chunky. I've done the cockpit module, so I'll extrude out all the glass. I'll get rid of that and just print out a frame, and then I can make the plastic panels just with thin perspex or thin plastic film. This is how the landing gear works, in case you're all wondering. Very simple. I haven't modelled in a spar, but I'll get a friend of mine who has a machine shop. He can just knock these up for me. It'll just be aluminium tube, either welded or bent. I think welded would be better. With a nice big 5mm strut there to go into the retract. This is modelled exactly the same size, this unit here, as FMS's 1700mm E-Flight copy retracts, basically. They're a really good unit, really solid. You can get that in full metal or metal internals just with a plastic casing. And they're not very heavy, they're really solid, so I've just modelled how that would work. As you can see, the tyre goes into the recess. So one of the good things about my 3D printer is that one of the companies I get filament from has just released a rubber filament, so I can print tyres. So I'll actually be modelling up the wheel and printing that out, so I won't have to worry about buying anything that, you know, to make do. Now on the real Beaufighter, I realise the lead trailing edge of the wing actually curls over and it's like has a cup sort of shape. It's sort of hard to explain. I could not be bothered modelling that on a plane this size. If I was doing a bigger one, definitely. Also with the horizontal stabs, I haven't modelled the elevator sections in yet. I will. But on the real Beaufighter, as someone mentioned in the forum, or was it another forum I was looking at? Can't remember. This part here is actually perpendicular to the vertical stab, so it's flat. And then at about this distance, the dihedral started. So I'll have to modify that as well. And that'll make it a lot easier for putting a spar in there too, just for the initial bit, and then I can have another crossbar across into here. Because I was actually wondering how I was going to do that. So you can see the rudder here. I'll just make a little group of this, and then I'll adjust the pivot point so I can see how much clearance I'm going to get. This is the good thing about doing stuff in 3D. You can figure all this stuff out. So the hinge point is halfway between the rudder and the vertical stab, so I'll just put that there. And of course that didn't do that. Okay, that's worked. So now I should, there we go, I can move the rudder around. That's plenty of deflection. So that's straight, and I get about 30 degrees of deflection either way. That's pretty good for me. I'm happy with that. Just save that. One of the things you do with 3D when you're learning to do 3D design is you save every 5 seconds, because what happens a lot is you get on a roll and you model stuff and 2 hours has passed, you haven't saved anything, and then your computer crashes and you've just wasted 2 hours. And it's happened to me a lot. I don't like it. So anyway, that's my model. I just thought I'd show everyone.